Oh wait, I didn't press the button. Oh no, I did press the button. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. So hello to you watching.
What?
Okay, we'll cut
What?
that. We'll cut.
I think that's the best intro.
Okay, so all right, we're good.
What do you mean I'm not taking it seriously? I've never been so serious.
Okay, hello everyone watching. We are CulturedSoda and Trizen, the wonderful
Yo,
man
yo.
that we have here over Skype. Not for the first time, I might add. We've spent many a night on Skype together.
This is going strange places, man. Strange places.
I couldn't even say it with a straight face. It was that funny.
Oh, yes.
So, yes, we are here to be two grown men talking about video games.
I'll tell.
So,
Manly video games where you can be
manly
like a
video
Viking
games.
and shit, man. Come on.
So, yes, we are going to be talking about the wonderful Elder Scrolls series and
Among other Bethesda
and
things.
Bethesda as a general company, perhaps.
Yes.
Yes.
This is a rare opportunity for you to potentially be seeing our horrible, ugly faces as well. If we've decided to, we've probably doomed ourselves now because we said the webcams were too horrible to bother putting the video on, but then now I've mentioned it in the thing, so we can't not put it in. Ah, what are you doing with your faces there?
Why would you do that? Now I have to edit more video. Thank you.
Anyway, getting swiftly, painfully back on topic. Skyrim and Oblivion and Morrowind and Fallout 3, these are all Bethesda RPGs. That rhymed somehow. Uh, and we rather like them, do we not? You can probably cut that out. We like them, do we not, Dean?
Yes, 13-year-old boy. We
Yes!
we do like them. I specifically liked the Elder Scrolls series more than perhaps any other game other than Deus Ex. I don't
Oh.
think I can think of many publishers that have put out such a solid catalogue of games that I will still go back to and play nowadays, even like 5 years on.
I may have just realised I had a secret weapon for this video that I forgot about, and I'm now kind of staring at it sadly. It's over there. Never mind, never mind. Moving on. So any video that starts off with Deus Ex love can only be a good thing, full of magical joy for all the children in the Mushroom Kingdom. Stop me now, please.
Okay, I'm gonna stop now. So, what you have a page of notes in your hand, I see,
And probably here.
like a boss.
That is only the highest grade nerds write down the things they want to ramble and tangent about. I literally have a separate list of tangents just in case this grand discussion of fantasy nerdy gaming things does not get quite obscure enough for you.
Well, that's always a bonus. Planning ahead on what is more likely to be cut out. No? Okay, it won't be cut out.
Cut nothing out. This is raw, uncut,
This is
pure.
raw, uncut TNA shit.
Yeah, this is like real hardcore reality right here, complete with lens flare.
Complete with lens flare.
It looks better when your head isn't blocking it. That could be interpreted many ways. What I just said. Oh, so. Oh boy, this is. Let this set the tone. But where do we want to begin in our great Bethesda RPG rambliness? I think we chose Bethesda RPGs because I don't know about you, but I just. The format of the Bethesda sandboxy, rambly, do whatever the hell you want, steal things and punch dude in the face because for the lulz. That just, grooves with me on some deep spiritual level. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's no games really that I can think of that pull it off quite as well. There are plenty of sandboxes out there, of course, but I just don't think they quite match up to the amount of sand in said box.
That's one damn sandy box you've got there.
That's a sandy box, man.
That's practically a desert you've got there.
And I think I'm gonna stick this to my nose.
To keep it mature.
Yeah, exactly.
Look how real and adult you are being. Uh,
Okay, so
5 hours of preamble later.
yeah,
How's about... Oh, we should start off, before we say anything, we are going to be assuming that you have some sort of, experience of the games we talk about, but if there's any, major proper spoilers, we will have some sort of warning. Warning, warning, my arms are flailing wildly on the screen. So just don't worry about that. You can watch this and be not worried about grand spoilers. But if something appears on the screen, then you should be concerned and turn the sound off. Okay.
spoilers. Jesus.
And then your webcam freezed a bit, but you're fine. Okay. Okay, I presume I haven't turned into some other random person who's using Skype at the moment. Is that how Skype works? You just suddenly
No.
end up with a Russian transvestite if you're not careful. I don't know.
Well, that's happened before, but only through intent.
Again, why do you keep dragging this back to dark, scary places, Dean? I don't know what's wrong with you.
Because this is the internet, my friend.
There could be children watching, sir. Oh,
Uh,
please, Jesus, can we start talking about
yes.
Skyrim or
Go,
something?
go. You've
Okay,
got the
okay,
page
okay.
notes.
I think we should start talking about Oblivion first, actually.
Yes.
Indeed. You see, because Oblivion was the first of the Bethesda RPGs that I played in my humble way that I play things. Yes.
Yes. I same here really. I never played any of the Elder Scrolls games prior to that.
In fact, this might be a good opportunity to mention. I went Oblivion, Morrowind, Fallout 3, and then Skyrim. I don't know why I'm pointing at the papers if you can see my notes.
It was exactly the same for me, except I went Oblivion, Fallout 3, Morrowind, Skyrim. So, yeah.
That's thrilling information. They need to know
It is
exactly what
incredible.
order.
Oh wait, Fallout New Vegas as well, but
Oh, which I have not played. Oh, so don't go
ooh,
talking about that, none.
interesting.
Watching you, quite literally. Uh, but yeah, Oblivion. I can't even think of many RPGs I'd really played before Oblivion, but it was just have you ever had that thing where every so often you just play a game or something and it's just like, Jesus, this is amazing. You had not even comprehended that something could be like that. It's just I picked up Oblivion. You get through the tedious tutorial bit where Captain Picard is talking at you, and then you get out into the world. It's just like, go nuts, do shit, do whatever you like. And I was just like, I, I, I want to punch this wolf and steal that book to throw it at the dead wolf, and then I'll try to kill a beggar and get caught by the police, and then quick load and do it again anyway. And I was just, I have this amazing story that I'll try and give you the cliff notes of, where I figured out that I could stay in an inn for free by picking the lock, and I started storing stuff in there. And then one day when the stuff disappeared, my first honest reaction was, it's been stolen. I thought I had no concept of the game's mechanics, I was like still in secondary school probably when I first played Oblivion. It's very embarrassing, but I had no idea of the limitations of the game, so I honestly thought people could just steal things from you if you were an idiot and left them in an unguarded room or something. I thought this was like real life, only with elves and crap.
Well, that's interesting you say that. I was also in secondary when I first played Oblivion, and then it was one of those games that I kind of just picked up on an off chance. I don't know if you're aware, because they don't exist anymore. Actually, they're going
Oh,
bust horrifically.
what?
But the UK retailer Blockbuster,
Oh yes.
they used to do a thing where you could trade in two games that were current in the chart, and then get one for like a fiver or something.
All right.
So I did that for Oblivion, and I didn't really know where to start when I went out there. I think I followed the main quest line for a good couple hours before I was like, I should probably do some more exploration here. And yes, I also have many hilarious anecdotes, which we'll get onto later because they are probably more relevant when we're discussing the other games.
yeah, but I don't want to get bogged down and talking about how noobish we were when we first tried playing these things. But the thing about Oblivion and stuff is they're always most fun when you start out and have no idea how it works. I'm always reminded of when I first played Minecraft and had no idea of how any of the, I didn't realise how things spawned in the dark or anything. It was all just one big mysterious enigma to me, as opposed to a well understood enigma. Good job there, descriptive talk.
Yep.
Not redundant in the slightest. But then the longer you play Oblivion, the more you notice the various kind of limitations. It's stuff that isn't as interesting or fleshed out as you initially presumed it would be. For instance, NPCs do not actually randomly steal your stuff if you don't guard it properly. As amazing as that would have been. And then there's stuff like, if you beat this ridiculous quest where you become the champion of the universe, guards will still treat you like utter crap, and stuff like that. But until I figured that out, it was just such a... It really, they like to go on in marketing about it's a whole new world of adventure and stuff. But it really was just... When I started out, I couldn't figure out how this witchcraft was working on my machine. It was like I've been teleported into Fantasia, and there's like flying dogs in the sky that grant you wishes, and giant rock men. I may be getting confused with the Neverending Story at this point, but it was just. But again, it was just so crazy until you play long enough and start to see the cracks appear. Stuff like the horrible, horrible way the leveling works. If you actually... The game doesn't explain how it works, how you kind of put your attributes up by doing certain skills. It doesn't explain how it works exactly, but how it actually works is through massive amounts of grinding is the only efficient way to get your attributes up after a certain
Or just standing behind a door.
Yep.
That's closed and crouching for several hours. That also works.
The old rubber band.
We say this that like it's horrifically broken, but if you're a member of the PC Gaming Master Race, you can in fact install
Oh.
which is Obscuro's Oblivion Overhaul. Which...
I like that you beat me to this. I was like, luckily.
Well, you was talking, so I felt that I had to interject with something worth saying, other than just yes.
Yes, yeah. Do stop me if I just keep going on and on. It will happen constantly, forever. For instance, right now.
So yes, the Oblivion Overhaul, which basically fixes a game that's not that broken. You mentioned cracks. What does is kind of put some car body filler in it and then sands it down to make it look alright, but it doesn't paint it.
This is the worst explanation of what is I've ever heard. What Oscuro does is it fixes how... The biggest change it probably does is the world no longer levels up with you. There will be monsters you find at an early level who are just way beyond your capability. And it's a bit like... It's basically how Morrowind worked, is that you actually have to level up yourself. The world does not center around you. You have to actually become the champion of the universe through your own sheer effort, rather than just majoring in alchemy and speech, and somehow the world is still convenient for you to fight, That's not a great explanation either, but that's basically what it does.
The way that I'd explain it is that you can basically walk out of the starter dungeon, turn a corner, and instantly be mauled by horrendously overpowered enemies.
Yes. But it's not as beautifully balanced and logical as, say, Dark Souls. I say Dark Souls because Dean has not played Dark Souls, despite it being amazing. So, go do that.
I will. I have been meaning to get around to it, but I have not much money at the moment, so,
Money.
That's why Dark Souls hasn't been played. But I've heard it is horrendous in terms of difficulty.
I don't want to go. This is onto my tangent list, Dark Souls, and I don't want to go into it too much, but I will just say Dark Souls, it's kind of exaggerated in how just unapproachable. I think it is actually quite approachable. It's just that the longer you play it, the more. The fewer, there's less bullshit the further you go in. It eventually just stands back and goes, okay, smart guy, I have a scorpion which spews lava in your face and crap. And it's just like, oh, you think you're hard because you got level 60 million in Oblivion. Well, have spiders with lasers coming out of their eyes. And then there's a dragon whose chest is just one big mouth. And it's like, possible spoilers. But that's Dark Souls. It's amazing. Go play it. Only if you're a manly man, or possibly a manly woman. One of those. But Oblivion.
Oblivion, yes, quite.
And then you've got the whole thing with Oblivion where it probably is just the single blandest fantasy world ever conceived.
Oh God, tell me about it.
As
much as I love it.
The longer you look into it as well. I mean, Morrowind had orcs and elves and all that as well, but somehow it didn't seem nearly as just Fisher Price, if that makes sense.
I think part of it is to do with the landscapes, even though Morrowind nowadays looks horrendous. Like a child's drawing that was burned in an
Covered in
orphanage
mud.
fire. Yeah, exactly. Oblivion actually kind of just thought, hey, we've got a better graphics engine, let's just make it like Winchester in England for the whole game and nothing else, and then add a slightly snowy place at the top.
Yeah, which is by far the prettiest place, and everywhere else just looks the same.
Exactly.
So they thought, let's take that pretty place and make the next game all about snow. Yeah, which is actually a good decision, I think. I like snow.
I don't. It's cold.
Well, yeah, it's kind of the defining feature of snow. You're silly, Dean. You're very silly. But
Correct.
perhaps we've gone on about Oblivion too much. How does it compare to Skyrim?
Well, I definitely preferred Oblivion to Skyrim. I'll get that out of the way now. Simply because I feel that there was a certain, I say, sense of freedom, because Skyrim definitely gives you that sense of freedom too, but Oblivion felt more flexible. It felt like you could go, yeah, I'm gonna go punch this guard in the face and then run away.
But just use my example, why don't you?
Yeah,
Go on.
but then in the next town, I'd still be wanted for that, because good news travels fast when guards have been punched in the face. And I also feel that Skyrim had not much incentive to actually finish the main quest,
Oh.
in my opinion. I was like, okay, I got halfway through it and just ended up feeling like, okay, what am I doing here? I just want to go out and do the side quests. So yes, go on.
Okay, I put my hand up, sir.
Yes.
But it's funny you mentioned, we were talking about how Oblivion is all bland and stuff, and I think Skyrim has a much more, I mean, it's still pretty straightforward. It's not exactly, oh, this is revolutionary fantasy bollocks here. But, it has an actual aesthetic to it, whereas Oblivion is just kind of fantasy. Yeah, fantasy. At least Skyrim looks like Game of Thrones, the whole greyness of it. But having said that, I think, my first kind of facepalm moment when I was hearing about Skyrim for the first time was when they're like, it's all about dragons! And I was like, oh, that's because no one has ever done dragons in fantasy before. It just felt like such a, it's like they went onto a forum and said, what do you want in the next Elder Scrolls? And all the 12-year-olds went, dragons! And,
that's how their marketing team works, obviously.
got fucking dragons, mate.
No, I totally agree with you there. Like 200%. In fact, even though what I said about there was no incentive, I'd still definitely agree that it's a better environment. It's almost like Skyrim got the environment right and Oblivion got the gameplay right, aside from the leveling system.
Now that is debatable. That is debatable. I will just interject here very quickly. I've been wanting to mention this. There was an extremely good video by Mr. B Tongue. It's an odd name, but he's very good on YouTube about this whole Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim thing. I would strongly recommend you go watch that. He talks about environment and narrative conflict and all these good things. But what you just said there, did you say that you think Oblivion has the better gameplay than Skyrim, at least very generally speaking?
Very generally speaking, yes.
Give me a specific example.
Well, something about the level of risk and reward that was in Oblivion, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
if you delve deep into a dungeon, and okay, yeah, go on.
Can I just very quickly? We're talking vanilla games here,
We're
aren't we?
talking vanilla, yeah. We're
Vanilla. We
talking
need to
vanilla.
point that out. Mods are off the table. This is vanilla. Continue.
Yes, even as now you've said that, I should mention that Obscuro does elevate the risk and reward system to an
Yes.
extent where the reward is almost not worth it.
Oh, possibly.
Possibly, unless you've spent hours training. Anyway, off topic.
That's never happened.
No, that's never happened at all for me. It's my first time. Um, so yes, risk and reward in Oblivion definitely feels like it pays off a little more. I mean, even for quests, I felt like some of the stuff that I was getting in return for doing said quests was a lot. I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say better because there were good quest rewards in Skyrim, but it just felt like I'd accomplished something more.
I think this is tying in beautifully to one of my massive. I've written this in capitals on my page. Okay, one of my biggest complaints with Skyrim is that there is way too much loot. Everywhere you go, you are tripping over jewelry and enchanted swords. It just really takes away from any kind of satisfaction from finding something good, because it just seems like you can do any meaningless little tiny quest with some random bum on the road, and you'll get an enchanted sword of ass kickery, forged in the fires of Moria by the flame of Arnor. And it's just, and some of the Daedra quests, for instance, are actually kind of really short and don't take much effort, and you get amazingly good loot for them potentially.
Yeah.
And it's just, I got that feeling much less in Oblivion. Even the vanilla game, it felt much more like you were earning stuff.
No, I totally agree, especially down to money. Like that was my point.
Oh bloody hell, the money! Oh,
when I said that it's almost not worth the reward, I meant simply because you can just go somewhere else and get that reward for half the effort or equally as good. Like it wasn't a case of the weapons or armor or anything that you get from the quests are rubbish. It's just that there's so many of them. Like I don't think realistically I ever used anything that I got from quests other than the Nightingale armor in Skyrim.
I'm gonna admit I don't know what that is.
That's when you finish the Thieves Guild.
Oh, which I haven't done. So don't talk to me about that, sir. But I don't know if we want to continue about that, or should I tell you one of my biggest issues with all these games though is.
Should we quickly cover the money?
Oh yeah, we forgot about the money. Yeah, I completely
money.
forgot about the
You
money.
cannot forget about the money system,
We
man.
got to have money.
The money.
So yes, the whole money thing. I remember distinctly. I hadn't noticed when I got to the first town in Skyrim for the first time that there was just such an amazing overabundance of loot so far. And then I got to the first town, and they told me you can buy a house now, and I was like, oh okay, I look forward to saving up for that. And immediately I was able to buy the entire first house with all the upgrades and still have change left over for armor and stuff. And I was just like, that was just so too much too quickly. I feel like I've barely been here 2 hours and I've got a cozy house. At least in Oblivion, the first house in the nearest city is literally a crappy shack. It's the cack shack on the waterfront. It's all you're getting for your money.
Yeah,
But
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I would not really you. That was kind of my thing. Go continue.
Oh, well, the other thing about Skyrim is like you have to do what, maybe 4 of the main quests, and they give you a house for free.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that too.
Like,
That's
it's just like, here, have everything you need, including a follower, because in Oblivion, followers were slightly harder to get. And by slightly harder, I mean quite a bit harder because Lydia just throws herself at you,
yeah.
armor dripping. Sorry, that was gross.
I cannot stop thinking now of that video called "Oh Lydia," but it saddens me that we both know exactly what that is,
Oh god.
and are jealous we didn't think of it. But what is it? I have to say though, in all of these games, companions have never exactly been. They've been more of a hindrance than a help, from my experience. It's like, let me
Ooh.
get in the way. Let me, accidentally throw a fireball at you. Let me
Well,
run in blindly and die when I should have just stayed here with you.
it's interesting you say that because Fallout 3 had incredible companions. Like they worked, and I don't know why they didn't keep that system for Skyrim. Because it seemed that some of the Fallout 3 companions that you could get were definitely worth having. And again, it felt like you'd actually earned their trust to stay by your side and lumber around with all your loot that you just pile onto them in a manic spree because you're running out of stuff to carry.
All I remember about the companions of Fallout 3 was that I didn't want to have them because I just remembered my experiences from Oblivion so vividly. And I was just like, no, that's fine, you can do your own thing. That's good. But I did like how you actually had to do quests to get them.
Yeah,
It just felt like in Skyrim they were so eager to show off the fact that you could have a companion. And Lydia just appears. She literally appears. You have no idea who she is, where she came from, but she's just instantly completely loyal and willing to walk off cliffs for you and possibly perform sexual favors. There's no requirement for any sort of earning there. Requirement for any sort of earning. You get my point.
just like when I go out in the street in real life. Then
Yes, exactly. It's
so,
just a documentary
it's just a
about you.
documentary, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like High Hrothgar is literally just Shooter's Hill up my road, obviously. You're not familiar with London, are you? So it's largely useless making a
London,
joke
that's in
about that.
Scotland, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's not far from
Loch Ness.
Cardiff.
Just down the road from New York.
Yeah, just near Mordor, you know.
Yeah,
I can simply walk to Mordor. That's the thing. It's next to the corner shop. Anyway.
You just made that joke. You just made that joke. Oh. Oh.
Oh god, there's a bee in my room.
Oh no. Oh. I thought you meant. I always thought. I thought you were making some sort of witty reference to one of my favourite little moments, which is where I had the killer ladybird appear in the Worms Reloaded video. The killer ladybird that was after my flesh.
Yeah, that was amusing, but
Stared at me menacingly the entire time.
I'm not going to reference it now because you've already referenced yourself, which is
Self-plugging.
self-plugging. Indeedy.
This sounds suspiciously like a tangent, Dean.
It does. What was he even talking about? What was we going to talk about?
What? What are we talking about? We were talking about companions and houses or something.
Oh yes, yes, and how they throw themselves at you in Skyrim. I still like. There was a point. I think the thing that ruined Oblivion for me in terms of houses and stuff was when I realised that you could literally just be like, okay, there are pirates there. I am going to do as pirates do, slaughter them, and steal their house. Because the pirate ship does work as a house, because it even has a chest in it that doesn't despawn your items.
Hmm.
Next to the bed, which also works as a sleeping bed.
I always remember in Fallout 3, I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but you know the whole Megaton house thing.
Yes.
There is no reason not to get the Megaton house, practically speaking, because it's much less effort to go to that house from the fast travel system than to go to the other house, which I'm not going to mention what it is. You know? Because I got the other house the first time, and then every single time I wanted to go to my house, I had to climb like 5 sets of stairs with loading screens.
Mm.
But the Megaton house is just go to Megaton, and then it's right nearby. So,
Okay, I fear that I want to make a point here, but I fear that without actually warning for spoilers,
oh,
which I will do now, spoiler warning everyone.
spoilers!
It will just be too disjointed. to actually make
Fine.
sense of. So, for example, if you choose the Tenpenny route and then you do the secondary quest for that, involving the ghouls, have you tried that one at all?
I don't think you have to do the house quest to do that, I'm pretty sure.
I thought that you did because then you could have Tenpenny House as a room, and you could still have the ghouls infesting it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I think you're talking about like the bug where you can just get into the room anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. That's an extremely exciting point you brought up there, Dean. Remember that tiny, uninteresting bug? Oh, yeah.
Well, I just no clip through the door anyway. That was my way of doing it.
Can we de-spoiler now?
Yes, we can de-spoiler.
De-spoiler, de-spoiler, lower the shields. I'm just reminded of in Republic Commando when something gets on your visor and then the awesome effect goes bzzz,
Oh yeah,
and like lasers it off. That may actually be one of my most favourite effects in anything ever. Is just when something splatters on your screen and then a freaking laser windshield wiper just goes.
or in Metro 2033 when you get anything on your visor, you literally just go "Ugh!" and wipe it off.
Oh, yeah.
Like you seriously slap. It feels like when you're playing a game that you actually slap yourself in the face. I'm surprised you don't lose health.
I'm not familiar with this, but now I want to be. Oh, oh, can we please drag this screaming back to Skyrim?
Yes.
I liked your whole gameplay thing you were talking about earlier. I thought that the whole dual wielding thing, where you could have like a sword and a spell, or just another sword, or shield, or a two-handed thing, and funnily enough, that's kind of a bit like what Dark Souls does, only Dark Souls is an infinitely better combat system. But I thought for Skyrim over Oblivion, that actually was a fairly big improvement in a lot of ways. What did you think of all that?
Yeah, I'll totally agree. Though I still feel that sometimes the dual wielding is horrendously broken. Like as a stealth character, I was using dual daggers a lot. So if I was, for example, to hotkey those to my glorious Microsoft default keyboard, the numbers would just get lost when it came to putting stuff in the left and right hand. Like, say that I had an ebony dagger assigned.
I'm not sure what you just did to the webcam.
I don't know.
You
I
nudged
have no
it.
idea.
You're slightly off angle. What have you
Okay,
done?
I'm back now, I think.
Yes,
So
continue.
yes, the ebony dagger I would have assigned, so I press it and it goes bing and it's in my right hand, and then I would be like, okay, now I want my super enchanted dagger of awesome in my left hand, and I press it and it would go, no, you're having it in your right hand, and there is no question.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah, in Dark Souls, I don't want to go on a Dark Souls tangent, but it's just staring at me from over there, going boom, boom, boom. It's like some sort of "it's under the floorboards" thing. But I don't know where that was going.
You
play
sounded
Dark
like
Souls.
you was going to make a point there.
I
And then
was
you just-
almost approaching a point, and then I thought it'd be cooler to just go on about Dark Souls and how much better it is than your face.
Oh. Ow. So, yes, but I will agree that the combat was a lot nicer than Oblivion in terms of dual wielding, but I still feel that because essentially when you strip everything out, they're both dungeon crawlers.
Mm.
Oblivion did dungeon crawling better, in my opinion.
Oh. Now that's interesting because I actually thought one of the biggest kind of visual improvements and crap that Skyrim did was it made the dungeons feel a lot more unique, a lot of them. I mean, not only did you have several distinct... I loved that they brought the dwarven fortresses back from Morrowind, for instance. Those always freak me out in Morrowind. You just be going around the corner and then, Robo Spider, hello! Not to mention they have actual giant spiders in Skyrim now. That was a lovely surprise. No.
God.
They're not as terrifying as the spiders in Grimrock, though, because they just like slither around and then you turn around and they literally just jump on your face and scream.
Talking of,
Legend of Grimrock, yes.
I haven't played Grimrock.
Oh,
Actually. I've been meaning to.
Continue.
One thing about the spiders in Skyrim, man. Jeez, talk about overpowered.
Explain.
Well, there's that. I can't remember the name of the town. That's how memorable the locations in Skyrim were for me.
That
There's the
one.
place where everyone is having horrendous nightmares,
Oh yeah.
and there's the little magic tower like 5 meters away from the town,
Magic tower.
which is
Magic,
like,
magic
"Well,
tower.
to stop the nightmares, you have to go to this place and do something. And it's like, okay, I will. And then you're right next to it, and you're, oh, okay. So that was not so much of a quest, more of a short stroll.
Yeah.
Anyway, outside there,
It did
there
seem like someone would have made the connection between the evil ex-cult tower and the mysterious nightmares.
exactly.
But
But like
go on.
outside of there, I had a lot of trouble. About 3 or 4 spiders spawned, frostbite spiders, the big ones. And every
Big
time I would
hairy
walk past, I
ones.
would just get mauled horrendously because they I don't know why, but it might have been a glitch. But every time I got attacked by them, they would do like half a health bar of damage per hit.
But in Skyrim and in fact all of these games, they're massively easy because you can just pause the game, drink 5 health potions, and continue.
Yeah, but I don't do that. I
I
don't,
know.
don't know.
This is what I was trying to say earlier. I've completely forgotten about the point I was trying to make about dungeons, but I was trying to remember to say that you really do have to just handicap yourself in order for a lot of these games to really prevent any fair challenge, present any kind of fair, satisfying experience. And I think Skyrim was actually, there were so many things I felt I had to handicap myself with.
Mm.
Just trying to limit the masses of loot, the Scrooge McDuck levels of gold that were pouring on top of me, and and the whole potion thing, which was actually one improvement that Oscuro's Oblivion Overhaul did, was it made health potions restore health over a few seconds rather than just instantaneously giving you a chunk of health whenever you want to pause the game.
Yeah.
But
No, I totally agree on that. Especially if you hotkey your potions. You're unstoppable. You don't even have to pause the game. You just have to back away slowly and then just hammer the 9 key. And then suddenly you're like, okay, I'm back. I'm gonna crack some skulls.
compare that to Dark Souls, where you have health potions, but whenever you use them, you stand dead still and cannot defend yourself at all, and it takes like 3 seconds to drink a potion. So you have these sets of potions that replenish whenever you use a bonfire, but you have to use them incredibly strategically because if you do it at the wrong moment, you'll just take even more damage from people hitting you. And I wish so badly that Skyrim and such could have a system like that, where you're actually having to think about when the good moment to heal is.
See, the thing
Yeah.
about that is, when do you get unfair? Because there's a point where
Oh.
when you have to stand around for 3 seconds consuming a potion, in real life, you could still move and consume said potion. Like, in real life, you wouldn't go, okay, oh, there's an enemy right there. Hang on.
That's a slightly unfortunate gesture you were making there.
Okay, I'm done. I could do worse.
But in case you're not able to see his magnificent gesture, he was kind of cupping his hand towards his mouth in an unfortunate manner. But what you were saying there about the whole weird real-life logic thing that kind of comes bearing down on these things sometimes, I'm always reminded of in Oblivion and everything, where you go into a shop and try to talk to someone, and your cursor hovers over an item, and you accidentally steal it. And I'm thinking, how could you possibly do that in real life? Where excuse me, I'm just going to take this now. So as I was saying,
accidentally steal something.
it's like that is one of my hardcore Iron Man rules, is that I don't save scum. I don't like just reload whenever something goes wrong. But I make an exception for shit like that, where there is no logical reason why that would have happened, except just how the game is designed. I didn't mean to steal something from you.
I'll admit that when I first started playing them, I didn't. I was a fiend for reloading. Like literally, I would see enemies. I'd be like, okay, quick save. Now I'm gonna go into this and see what various things I can do and quick load if it goes horrendously wrong, which sometimes it did.
You make an excellent point there, Dean.
That was fairly hard to keep a point going on when I'm just being distracted by sombrero.
What? Where? Oh, that would have been totally lost. Well, now we have to put the video in, don't we?
Now we have to put the video in.
Uh,
Wait, I have interesting things
oh.
ahead.
Oh, we're getting interesting
We're
things.
getting interesting things.
Interesting things. Interesting things. Interesting things. What are the interesting things?
Hang on.
I'm fairly sure I didn't lean on my microphone button by accident there.
You didn't. You're fine. I can still hear you.
How do you know? You could be imagining this. What the... Oh no, you've gone stir crazy from playing too much Metro. Must resist predictable Doctor Who joke. Can I even hear you in that?
You should be able to, yeah.
They're only the finest audio quality.
I see you like to play Castlevania. It's the obvious reference.
You just won the internet for that joke.
Uh,
Ah, okay. I feel like my sombrero is inadequate now. But what is this degenerated into? Why are you still watching this, YouTube person? This is just pure filth. Well, you know, in other unrelated news, I have an A-Team box set. Would you like to... There you go. The complete collection. What? This is of relevance to Bethesda and games and role-playing and shit. Look at it. You could
it
be
is
like...
if you're playing Oblivion, my friend.
Yes, yes. It reminds me of in San Andreas, where the only valid option for character creation was to be Mr. T. There were no other options. You were being Mr. T. You could have the chains and the mohawk. This sombrero is actually probably making annoying rustly sounds on the microphone, so I'll get rid of it. I was talking about Skyrim at some point.
Talking of character modelling and creation,
Oh, segue.
well done. Well done. What did you prefer, Skyrim or Oblivion? For that,
Well, you see, in Oblivion, I would always just pick the Argonian, of course, and then just hit random, and then I would tweak some tiny things like how the ears looked, and then that would be it. And I swear in Oblivion, their faces were always lopsided. Is it just me? I swear one eye was always like.
it adds realism. They're not perfectly symmetrical, and nothing in real life is, obviously.
You know, it's just so easy to end up with someone who looks like Nondrick, though. I got that joke. Got that joke.
Yes, I would agree, but to be honest, I preferred Skyrim's.
Beards.
Yeah, beards. And you can also make. Well, me and my friend decided to make the most horrendously looking drug-addled person that we could.
Horrendous. Are you sure you didn't mean to say gorgeous?
No, I meant horrendous. You know,
Oh.
the reddest eyes that we possibly could.
Oh.
The deepest inset eyes that we possibly could. Very skinny.
I'm trying to inset my eyes. It's not really happening.
Very old, very skinny. And then we basically decided to roleplay as a drug addict who went around punching people for his fix, which was definitely interesting.
You have brought me beautifully back to the Dark Souls tangent. I promise I will wrap this up, okay? It's just because I can't stop comparing like Dark Souls and Bethesda things, because they're all RPGs, but they're so different, and yet they have these similarities. And I think, you know, Dark Souls is a combat game 90% of the time. You're rewarded for exploration, but it's a hub system. It's not some open, random generated crazy world out there. It's a hub system with set enemies and stuff.
Mm.
But the whole point is that's kind of the focus of the experience, is the combat, and that's why it's so good and so well put together. And it's kind of like Deus Ex, where any option is valid, only way better balanced than Deus Ex because half the mechanics are just broken. But then in Oblivion and stuff, the combat is kind of just one part of it. It's a bit like a Dungeons and Dragons, which I recently played for the first time. Random attempt at a Scottish accent.
I see. I get that. That's an obscure reference if ever there was one.
Whatever do you mean, lad? Anyway, yeah,
Jesus.
what was I talking about? But yeah, because Dark Souls has this weird minimalistic story going on. No spoilers, no spoilers. But Skyrim and stuff actually have, definite characters and arcs and plots going on, and occasionally the kind of weird. They do kind of occasionally clash with the mechanics and how the game is set up. We already mentioned the champion of the world, archmage of the entire freaking universe, and yet no one treats you like anything other than an average dude. Go clean my cellar of rats, random person I hired for 2 gold.
Yes.
And you're sitting there like full divine armor, like, oh.
If I was to talk about maybe the 4th or 5th quest into Skyrim, would it be spoilers?
You mean the main quest?
Yes.
Okay, I would say if this is spoilers for you, mute the. There you go. If
spoilers!
you want to mute this and come back later, you can do that. But so continue. Spoilers herein.
So there is the quest where you have to infiltrate the embassy. This is a prime example of where mechanics don't fit with story.
I think I know where you're going.
It's like, okay, you could be real stealthy in that, and then if you can actually do stealth, then here you go. And then it's like, okay, even if you're playing a stealth character, we're gonna position a guard right next to the door when you enter this room, so you have to end up fighting anyway. There is almost no... When you actually get to freeing the prisoner, I can't remember his name, is that memorable. It's like, okay, so you could, in theory, do a Deus Ex and like sneak and open the door and then be like, get out of here, mate. And then
Jesse Denton.
And then you find your way out yourself. But no, it's like, okay, opening the door has now alerted every guard in the vicinity to your area for some reason.
Yeah.
Even though electricity doesn't exist yet, they have some kind of complex alarm system.
It's magic, Dean. Magic.
And then they come and beat you to death with elven armor on.
I feel the need to say, feel the power of my magic. But have you made your point?
I've made my point. It just felt like there was no... For a lot of the main quest anyway. Obviously they tried to balance it for all types of players, but instead of balancing it, they could have made multiple ways of doing it. Like Deus Ex. Go on.
Can we de-spoiler then?
We can de-spoiler now.
So. Spoilers are down. Spoilers are down. Yes, you were just talking about how they tried to make something balanced for all the different playstyles, but it kind of really isn't at all if you think about it.
Precisely.
And that really is the problem with all of these games. This actually reminds me of something I wanted to say about Fallout 3, but I'll get to that. Try and remember that for me, because I won't.
I'll remember that.
Because in every one of these Bethesda RPG, Elder Scroll things that I've played, it is considerably easier to just be a dude with a sword and shield who hits guys and tanks damage, rather than be a sneaky bow guy with a dagger or a mage. And I do think that in Skyrim they made mages a bit better because just how you can just hold the button down and do the attack, rather than in Oblivion where you just kind of hurl fireballs and they always miss. Because they have this habit of just barely moving out of the way at the last moment. And it's not like Doom where you can actually reliably predict where the thing is going to go because it's like an object in the world. It just feels so much more random and unreliable, and you're just sitting there going, why do I not just hit them with an axe? And then the stealth, it isn't exactly Thief, is it? The stealth.
No, I mean, I think Skyrim did the stealth quite a bit better, but Oblivion still had this kind of charm about its stealth where it was like you genuinely felt in danger.
Yeah,
in Skyrim I knew that with the stealth I could go, oh no, I've been caught, I can just run around, exactly, or stab, or I could just run behind a pillar, and then when they're looking for me, edge around the pillar slightly, so we're moving in a circular motion until they just forget about me and go, "Must have been
Oh,
my imagination."
must have been my imagination. Yes. Never mind all those arrows in my. No, don't do it. Don't, don't.
That was the other thing, actually, saying you could sit behind a pillar and be like, "Ugh, ugh,"
Yes, yes,
and then
yes.
they'd
We've
just be
all
like,
seen. We know. What were you looking at?
I was pretending there was a guy shooting me. Now
Oh,
anyway.
I thought you were like, "What was that noise?" And then the guy from Thief jumps in the window. Except he wouldn't do that because he knows that he'd be seen by millions of people on the internet, and
Exactly.
he's the best thief you've never seen.
Mm.
But
Unless
what was
you're,
I gonna say?
unless you're me playing,
Uh,
everyone sees him then.
but I said all this kind of the whole point is these games, they're supposed to offer all these play styles, but they really aren't very balanced at their core. And that actually reminded me of Fallout 3 because I thought Fallout 3 had a lot fewer obvious issues that I found than Oblivion, but it didn't feel like anywhere near as much of an open-ended experience in terms of how you could approach things. It was much more of a unless you just completely handicap yourself by only meleeing people primarily, you're shooting some kind of gun at people.
Mm.
It might be a little gun, it might be a big gun, but it's still a gun. And especially, uh, I did like how the melee skill early on, it did actually have a fair bit of use because you really wanted to save ammo a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favourite things about Fallout 3 is that it has a much more. You feel so much more vulnerable for a lot of the early game than
Mm.
in Oblivion and such you ever do. Again, going vanilla here, but and that really extends to how you have to preserve ammo and stuff for a lot of the game. But then you get to a certain point in the game where you have all the ammo you'll ever need, and you're amazing at any gun you could ever want to use, and it just becomes a kind of crap first-person shooter because the shooting isn't terribly satisfying.
Yeah. But then again, I do feel that um, if you was to walk into, say, the school area near Megaton with a 10mm pistol, you would immediately be bludgeoned by 10 bandits with baseball bats, and you wouldn't make it out.
I didn't say
So,
that. I didn't say the computer was shit when it came to melee. I said you were shit when it came to
oh
melee.
yeah, yeah, definitely. But another thing that I think is worth mentioning when it comes to Fallout 3's combat is that it was so hard to do stealth if you weren't playing melee and stealth at the same time.
Yes,
Like
because you're loudly shooting people with
exactly.
guns.
I mean, New Vegas fixed that because you can have silencers on your guns, and I think there is a silenced 10mm pistol in Fallout 3. But who uses a 10mm pistol anyway? It's like the worst gun in the game.
What always confused me in Fallout 3 was you start off with the pistol, don't you? But then you can also find in the game a Chinese pistol, which is just factually worse
Mm.
than the pistol you start with in every way. And I really was questioning what the logic was in adding that. It's just
You do have to remember though that weapons degrade,
oh
similar to
oh
Oblivion.
how topical, since in Skyrim there is no weapon. Well, no weapon.
No weapon.
I can't say this phrase. Weapon degradation. There is no weapon degradation in Skyrim, and I'm not sure what I think of that.
I well, I think the enchantments last less for sure. That's a definite. I feel that in Skyrim, like enchantments only last for about maybe half an hour of solid combat, depending on what the enchantment is. But yeah, like you said, you don't have to get repair hammers out and go ding, 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 and then that fixes your magical battle axe.
I think it really just kind of emphasizes that. I always felt Skyrim. All these games have combat as a major thing you're doing, but it almost seemed like in Skyrim it was. I felt there was kind of less variety in a lot of the quests. Some of my favourite, most memorable quests in Oblivion didn't even really have any combat in them, unless you just chose to stab someone for no reason.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Well, honestly can't think of one off the top of my head now, but that's not a good example at all. but it's true. Take my
Well,
word for it. But then in Skyrim, they kind of it seems to be even more combat focus going on, and they seem to just focus on that by getting rid of the need to repair your weapons.
yeah. See, what I was worried about when I got a couple of quests into Skyrim's side stuff was that all of them were going to be like, okay, um, I am man A, go and smash man B's head in with a hammer, and then come back to me. See, I was worried that all of the quests were going to be like that, but you have to do some hunting around to find the variation, because otherwise it's like every side quest that you get is just going to be the Dark Brotherhood. Because at least in Oblivion, some of the side quests, as dull as they were, like, oh, go and get me a mushroom, or clear the rats out of my basement.
I will say in Oblivion, I think I've beaten every quest in Oblivion that didn't have anything to do with Nirnroot, because I don't consider that a quest. Find 10 Nirnroot, okay. Find 5 billion Nirnroot, fuck you. You know. Uh,
Vroom,
oh,
vroom,
I had thought of a
vroom.
beautiful. What are you doing?
Making the Nernroot noise, but
Yes.
slightly lower.
Um, they had some balls to bring Nirnroot back to Skyrim, I have to say. But I thought of a beautiful way to segue. Where you said something, and I was like, I can use this to segue into something I want to talk about. Then I forgot what you said, so that's not going to happen now. Okay,
Was it about
okay.
the Dark Brotherhood and killing people?
Okay. Let's jump on that. I don't think that's what it was, but let's jump on that. I haven't beaten all of them, but I thought in Skyrim the kind of guild quest lines were less fun generally than the Oblivion ones, like Dark Brotherhood and crap.
Interesting. I would agree, but I find that the Thieves Guild in Skyrim was better, to be honest. But just from the way that I play my stealth is very specific. So the only bad you look around as if something
I,
it's
I
just
think
happened in
someone's
the
just
room.
come home. I hope they don't randomly open the door,
Oh,
but we should be fine.
I'll say hello to them. But anyway, um, yeah, I feel that the Thieves Guild in Skyrim was pulled off a lot better. There was more of a reward at the end of it as well, which I won't ruin. I think I already have ruined it, but I won't ruin it again.
It's there are tiers of ruination. Try not to jump up anymore, like a thief might jump. That reminds me, I love how in all these games you are the only person in the entire world who can jump. As
Yeah,
far as I'm aware, they didn't fix that in Skyrim, so
I don't think. See, that's interesting because in real life combat, no one's actually jumping around and going, oh,
do 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 do
oh.
do do.
Other than Mario,
Yes,
which is of course like the most
he's the
realistic
exception to
game
every
ever.
rule. Yes, controversy. What were we talking about? Quest lines. I don't know. I always thought. I mean, already in Oblivion, it's pretty ridiculous that you can do like 12 quests and go from a complete noob to the master of this secret guild that no one knows about. But it seemed in Skyrim, it seemed even worse for that. It just seemed like it barely started to get into the story, and it just stops. It's like, congratulations, you have been arbitrarily selected as the new leader.
Yeah, I find that especially with the Dark Brotherhood in Skyrim, and then they're like, okay, you can have another quest, and it's like, okay, cool, I'll go to another quest, and it's like, kill this guy.
Oh, oh, can we just have a timeout very quickly? Can we get back to you?
Yes.
Apologies, viewers. Oh, well, I am now recording. Hello, we are having a conversation.
Yep, we are having a gentlemanly conversation about women know their place. If that ever goes public, I'm screwed. So
Well, I know my Easter egg.